Alright, let's do this. Okay, so I'm playing around with a library that I wrote, which is called Trikl, which kind of makes it very easy to make terminal applications. And so, yeah, you can kind of see it has this sort of reagent kind of interface. Okay. And I got a bunch of boilerplate here for like starting and stopping my server. I'm actually going to put that all, yeah, let's put that on the top because I don't really want to think about that too much anymore. And then we can do the more interesting stuff here at the bottom. 2 persons watching. Hey people. Okay, so this is my very first time doing this. So yeah, if you want to leave any comments, that'd be cool. I'll try to read them every now and then, try to respond. I'm only just doing this on my laptop right now. It'll probably be easier to have like a separate screen so I can follow like who's on the stream. But we'll get there. Okay, so I kind of want to go for sort of a reframe-ish architecture. So let's say that I have a DB, which is an atom. So this is sort of all my application state is going to go in here. And what I want to do today is try to, so what I want to eventually, and the reason that I wrote this whole Trikl library is because I want to make sort of a roguelike, you know, kind of RPG-like game in the terminal. Now that's you know, it's still a long way to go to get there. So as a starting point, I was thinking I could sort of make an editor, like a color picker and a level editor. But let me maybe first show a little bit how Trikl works. So let's, hi people on YouTube. And let's rerun this regularly. Okay, so that's cool. And actually, so let's say this is where our map will display. And then this one, we're going to give a height of 10. Okay, so that's kind of, I guess, the interface I have in mind right now. And so this thing is going to have a state. It's kind of going to be a stateful thing, kind of like Vim or something. Still 2 people on the stream. So yeah, it starts in the default state. And I guess the first thing we want to have is some kind of cursor. You know, let's say our cursor is at 1010 for starting. And what I'm gonna do, I only have one client right now, right? That should just be me who's connected. Actually, let me back that up. Let me tell you a little bit about this Trikl thing. So what you see here in the terminal is actually a telnet connection. So when I start this thing, which really just says, okay, start server, and you give it a port, and then you give it a function that gets run every time a client connects. And so all I'm doing right now is just sort of collecting these clients in an atom so that I can do stuff with them. Now, once a client is connected, so I'll start the server again, and I'll connect here. So you don't see anything yet, but I have one client now, and a client is just a map with a bunch of things. there's like an input and an output stream. There's a couple atoms because state that it needs to keep. But so once you have your client, and actually let me turn that into a little convenience function. So once you have your client, you can say Trikl render lambox x10 y10 width 20 height 10 style background, and then you give it like an RGB color, and this is the box, and we render that to a particular client. Styles. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of what Trikl does. That's most of the API. You can say render and watch. No, always render watch, and it's almost the same, but the last argument is an atom, and you give it some kind of function which renders this kind of pseudo hiccup DOM thing. Oh, haha, that's a bug in Trikl. Seems like it's not properly resetting its styles upon a re-render. Oh, now I'm watching this. But so what I should be able to do now, let's see, so I guess I'm getting my props here, and any children, although there shouldn't be any children here. So let's see if I can do like a without string. Let's require closure pprint. Closure pprint, just to kind of see what I'm getting in here, and then I can work with that. And then yeah, of course now I need swap db identity. Is that gonna call the hooks? So sure. And did not re-render. That is unfortunate. Yes, probably should have given this. Okay, let's start again. So let's start my server. I'll connect to it. I got one client now. There's my client. And so I can render and watch this. Not doing much, is it? Okay, let's see. Yeah, exactly. I'm probably getting some errors here. Oh, yes. Okay, so this should have been like this. And now I guess my input loop is broken, which means the rendering stops. Because I don't have a client. Great start. Yeah, and so this, I'm trying to make it a while, but it really should be a function. Yeah, so Trikl, I mean, it's only just at the point where I feel like, sort of all the main stuff is there, but definitely still work in progress. Okay, what's up now? Am I not giving these arguments? Client element state. So this is actually an element, so this is like this, I guess. Makes more sense. Start, connect. Okay. Haha, rendering. Okay, so now you should see exactly when I update my DB, it re-renders. And so I can put a cursor in here. Is anyone? Oh, 3 people watching. Do I have any comments? Can I see where my comments are? The current resolution is 960 by 5. Is that a... That's a YouTube message. There's kind of an echoey thing going on. Okay, I got some... I mean, it's kind of strange. It might be my sound setup, because I mean, there's no speaker like echoing what I'm saying. But there might be something else going on. I don't know if this helps at all. Am I better understandable now? Is there still the echo? Alright, well, I guess the show must go on. So where were we? Yeah, so I got a cursor position now. So that means I can start destructuring this stuff. Cursor. And then let's say cursor X, cursor Y, cursor. And then here I should be able to say box and then give it an X and a Y. Cursor X, cursor Y, cursor Y. Width 1, height 1. Styles, background. Let's go back for that burgundy. As props. I should probably do something so that no. Yeah, so I guess that's not a shitty thing that it doesn't pick up the changes to my app, because it wouldn't let me pick a var. I probably should fix that. But I can unwatch this, right? Unwatch. Can you just give it a client? No. Okay, let's first go into Trikl and fix one thing. So the thing is, I have my draw function, right? Or yeah, I have my app function. And that kind of renders the whole UI. But when I give that to the watch thing, then if I redefine it, it's sort of gone. Like it's still looking at the old one. So this should be enough. Can I do that? Yeah. Okay, and let's actually bring this thing back. Just kind of re-render it in a loop. Every 250 milliseconds, not too much, but enough. Yeah, maybe I still had the YouTube video open. That's why you had the echo. Hey, 4 people watching. Oh no, 3 people watching. Okay, well, do leave comments, folks. That really kind of knows, like, means that I know that I'm not just talking into the void. Okay, so this should work a little better. So let's start the server again. Let's connect again. And we got an exception. Uncheck long cost. Okay, yeah, it's let's be a little bit more defensive here. I'm guessing this is where that null pointer exception is coming from. Yeah, and the shitty thing is, like, once it says here input loop broken, so Trikl inside has a loop which listens for stuff coming back from telnet, and once an exception happens in that loop, it no longer gets resize events, and it kind of depends on those resize events for re-rendering. Long story, but that's why that's kind of shitty. Okay, but that's actually great. Yeah, and I should probably take some print lines out of Trikl. Maybe I actually took those out. Still in my REPL state. See, those are gone. Yeah, so you're getting a little bit of a preview now, because this Trikl library, I haven't really announced it anywhere yet. It's something that I've been working on, and I feel like I want to have it a little bit more mature before I really sort of, make a proper announcement about it. But it's at the point where I actually want to start building stuff with it, and that's kind of why I'm doing this screencast today, or this stream today, sort of as an experiment, because this is kind of, like between all the more serious stuff that I do, this is very much more like a hobby thing. And so, yeah, figured it might be fun to sort of share that with people in this way. Okay, so I should be able to just give this guy a height. Actually, no, the second one has a height. Why isn't the rows? Oh, because the first one also has a height. Yeah, so this rows element, it kind of divides the space between the stuff that you put in it, but the last one gets all the remaining space, even when it has a fixed height. So when we give this one a height of 1, then that first line takes one line, and then the rest, takes the rest, which is then the whole thing, which is not what I want, but this should make a difference. Yes, here we are. Okay, so for some reason my props are empty, so let's actually reset this DP. Yeah, because okay, if I do it this way, then I also need to do this, I guess. Okay, hopefully last restart in a little while. Although the thing is still a little fickle when it comes to... no, it's still not showing me any props. Still a little fickle, like if you have, like you saw before, if you have exceptions in your render functions, then yeah, the thing kind of blows up. And it's a little bit like, well, no, it's not exactly intentional, but I didn't want to swallow exceptions everywhere yet, because I kind of want to see when things legitimately go wrong. Like I said, it's still kind of work in progress. Okay, so what's happening now? You know what? Maybe, because this is also like, I didn't start a new REPL before starting this show. Basically had a REPL running like from last week or something, so wouldn't be surprised if the state in there is a little bit messed up. And REPL connection established. Let's evaluate the buffer. Are we there yet? Yeah, and then of course I should actually declare appendb. Can I do this in one go? I think I can. Cool. Yeah. So start the server again, connect with Telnet, and here we are. I'm still not seeing any props, even though there's definitely... Oh, but whoa, that's okay. We're getting props, and our cursor has moved. Nice. So next step, 5 people watching. Hey everyone. Don't forget to leave comments. I do love those. It's nice to know that I'm not talking to the walls here. So now I can add a listener to a particular client. I need to give it a key that's just sort of so you can easily unlisten to it afterwards. And then you give it a function, and this function receives messages. Let's also put those in the DB so you can kind of see what the last message was. So this last message. Yeah, and so it receives several types of messages. Each time that it redraws, it first requests the size of the screen. So we can ignore those, but basically all the ones that have input, those are the messages that we care about. Yeah, enter still shows up as Control-Alt. I should probably show that as well. The thing is, like, they're indistinguishable from a terminal point of view. It's the kind of weird things you learn when programming this stuff. But, like, terminals behave in weird ways. But so yeah, you can like capture function keys. Let's actually make this a little bit more useful. When type M is input, then let's say the last key is, what is it for key? Key M. Okay. So now, yeah, when you press the up, down, left, right, I want to move the cursor. Let's see if we can do that. Cursor. So let's say case key M. And so yeah, there's up, down, left, right. And in each case, we're gonna swap the database to update the cursor. And so then here we get XY as the cursor. And if it's up, then I guess it's decrement Y and X. Here it's kind of the, no, it's increment Y. Here it's decrement X, leave Y alone. Right, does that make sense? So yeah, this is all a little bit of a funky nested expression, but basically over here, this is gonna take the current value for cursor and pass that into this inner function, and then what we return back out is the new value for cursor, which is an X and a Y coordinate. So let's try that. Nothing happens. I'm guessing my input loop broke again. No matching clause, yeah. Okay, so I should have added here like a default case XY. Let's fix this. Error during input loop. And then recur anyway. Am I inside my loop here? It's also a massive thing. No, I'm outside my loop. Well, let's change that. no, actually you can't loop recur across a try catch boundary. What's happening here? Emacs going berserk. Okay, in that case, I'm just gonna start my input consumer loop again. Right. I don't know. I need to come up with a better example, a better fix for this at some point, but at this point, I just want to be able to do stuff without having to constantly restart my server. So let's do that again. Okay, did not pick that up. Cider REPL clear. No. Cider REPL clear output. Come on. Yeah, sorry folks, but I mean this is also programming. Sometimes you're just banging your head against the wall for a bit. Let's evaluate this buffer. So someone asks, what does Trikl do? So Trikl is a brand new library of mine that is still kind of unreleased and still kind of a little in stealth mode. So you're all getting the preview. It's basically a library that lets you write terminal applications using a hiccup-like syntax. So basically, if you can write hiccup, you can make terminal applications. That's kind of the idea. And so it kind of consists of two parts. There's the render part. So there's a render function which you pass something like, you know, this app function, which returns this sort of pseudo hiccup description of your UI. And then there's a listener part where you can get input. And I guess I didn't add this listener yet. Yeah, so let's first try this one again. So this should now, yeah, this shows us the last key that's been pressed. And then what happens if I evaluate this one and I press a key? Oh my god, the cursor is moving. All right, nice. Does have some lag, but that's because I'm only re-rendering every 250 milliseconds, so I probably should also add a watch on my database so that it renders instantly when this changes. Come on, add watch. Reference is my DB. Key re-render. And then you give it a function. And this one, I guess it takes the reference, the key, the old value, and the new value. I think that's right. Basically, you only care about the last one, but you need to know how many arguments there are. So now I can say Trikl render to the last client for now, app with the current DB state. And now we've got a little less lag. That feels already a little bit more like we can actually move this cursor. All right, cool. So I guess the next part is I want to be able to, quote unquote, draw things. So basically move to a point and press space or something to put something at that position. And to do that properly, I probably also want a color picker. So let's write a color picker. But so now it gets interesting, right? Because like my UI state, like right now I have this moving cursor, and that's why up, left, right, up, down, left, right moves the cursor. When I'm in this color picker mode, I want my cursor keys to do something else. So I'm gonna make a multi-methods handle key, which dispatches on the current UI state in the DB. So what that lets me do is I can say def method handle key default, and so it gets this M, and now we're basically here. So actually let's give handle key 2 arguments. The message and the DB. Should the DB both be first or DB should be last? I'm gonna put it last, don't ask me why. Yeah, and this is a great thing with multi-methods. I can't just if I just reevaluate this now, that's not gonna work. Clojure is just gonna ignore that change. So the easiest thing is to just first def it to nil and then def it again, and then it does pick up that change. Okay, I'm gonna remove this cursor listener. And instead call this just general input listener. And so when input is type M, then swap the DB using handle input. Actually, and there I guess you can see that it might make more sense to put the DB first. So that I can easily use it in swap. And now this one no longer needs to swap, this one just needs to do this. I guess I do still need a let xy, or yeah, I need to do an update here. Update DB cursor let xy current cursor return the new cursor. So that's my default key handler, and then over here we call that, so we update the DB handle input and the current input message. Does not know handle input. What did I call this? Handle key. Let's call it handle input.
yeah, default is kind of a special key in multi-methods. I don't know if I want this exactly to be like the fallback key, but on the other hand, if it's not a cursor key, it'll just leave the cursor intact. I guess that's fine for now. Okay, so does this still work? Not doing much. Let's see, is this getting called? So I got my swap database handle input message. Yeah, that seems legit. Okay, yeah, okay, we just need to register the handler. Okay, so why is this nice? Hey, all 5 people. Yeah, eventually I'll get a second screen, so I don't have to like switch back to YouTube on this screen to see how many people there are. But that is for some other day. Okay, let's actually, because I don't want to just have, so I guess I want to, let's say when I press C, no, let's say let's use FMB for foreground and background. These are kind of the 2 keys that get me to my hypothetical color picker. Yeah. So if up, down, left, right, PM, then we do all this. Let's make that a cond. Else if add a bit of destructuring there. Keys key SM. Even though we're shadowing the key function, but sometimes that's okay. That means that here PM can just become key. And so when key is B, we say associateDB state take background. Okay, so that still works, and when I press B, and now I need to think what happens there. So we briefly went into the pick background state, and then somehow our database got emptied out. Why is that? No exceptions in the terminal. Swap DB, handle input. Yeah, seems legit. Yeah, there's also still 0 boundary checking on that cursor, but I mean, you know, baby steps. Okay, so that works. And then I press B. Okay. Now it worked. Okay, and so now I can still use I can still move the cursor because it's using the default handler, because that's how multi-methods works. But as soon as I add a pick background handler, that should fix itself. Yes. Okay, so now I'm in this other mode, and so presumably these cursor keys are going to do something. That's why my cursor isn't moving. But if key is, and I think I called it, oh, I thought I called it escape, but I guess I called it's just this guy. Is that even a valid? That's not a valid keyword. Can I do this? Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this, am I not? That's a bit messy. But okay. So basically, if the user presses escape, then I want to switch back to the default state. So it's kind of Vim-like or evil mode or whatever, and otherwise we keep the DB intact. So escape, and now we can move again. And F. Ha. That's weird, huh? That's what happened before as well. I don't have a fallback here. Still though. Oh. It's not case, it's can't. You need something there. I'm guessing can't you use else. Let's try this again. B, pick background. Nice. Okay. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is, depending on the UI state, it actually needs to render something else. And I guess we can do that with a multi-method as well. So say def multi main panel I guess this can just be identity. Or do I just give it all the props? What would work best there? So this, we would have a main panel default and a main panel. I'm going to give it the props. So basically over here, it's going to say main panel props. So the default renders the cursor. And so now this gets a single argument, which is a map, which contains the state. So I guess I can just use that keyword as dispatch function state. So in the default state, yeah, and now this let also needs to go. Keys cursor. Yeah, I think that looks good. Pick background is the other one. Now we're picking the background. Yay. Okay, so I got this multi-method, two handlers, redefine app. Okay, yeah, we're in pick background state and we're back. And background and back. Okay, it's already kind of cool, right? So now I guess for the fun part is this actual color picker. And that should probably be a separate component. I'm gonna call it color picker. So this is mainly 3 rows, right? Which is like, let me think. Now let's say this gets the current color which is like an RGB triplet. And let's see, again, be a little bit defensive here. Give this a fixed width for now. Actually, we can make this a bit dynamic. So Trikl allows you to query what your bounding box size is, which returns width and height. So let's say, you know, that string takes a bit of space, but let's, you know, maybe deduct 15 from the current width. That's how wide we want to go, and then we're going to map over this and give it a span with a background. Okay, that's not exactly yet what I want for it, but let's see if that at least renders. Oh, I need to actually be inside my LED block. Thanks, folks, for pointing that out. Okay, so now here we say color picker. Let's just pass on our full database for now. We're getting exceptions. Oh, yeah, that's kind of probably something I should fix as well. Okay. Right, yeah, these are empty spans. If you put an empty string in them. Okay, that looks already different. Now, at the moment, I goes from 0 to, you know, how wide we're going. So I need to interpolate that. So, yeah, gonna have to do a little bit of math here. So the value for red, so I goes from 0 to, let's say, 50, and I want to go from 0 to 255. So I need to multiply I with 255 and then divide by the current width. And let's say, yeah, I'm gonna pull this out. Color bar. Color bar takes keys, current color, and component, which is going to be 0, 1, or 2 for red, green, or blue. And so I'm going to copy this. And let's say it also, we just pass it a width. You can do that outside the color bar. So divided by the width and math. Yeah, let's maybe floor. What's all this about? Okay, does math floor actually work? Let's just try to REPL this a bit, see if we put some values in there, what happens. So say width, like I said, is 50, and we put in 0, then it should still be 0. If we put in 50, it should be 255, exactly. Okay, and yeah, I guess we want to cast this too long to get rid of the dot 0. And here, can you can associate on a vector? You know, because sometimes vectors are kind of like maps that use indexes instead of keys, and sometimes they're just not. But here they are. So assoc current color component. Yeah, now I call this R for red, but let's call it C. Beautiful naming. Yeah, that minus 15 can go. Okay, that's a color bar. With that, I should be able to say here, colored bar, current color, component 0, which is the red, and then with that understanding that I'll subtract so that we have a little bit of space for these strings at the front. Oh yeah, and not supported on persistent array map. And where is that coming from? Oof. I am doing something that is not right. Okay, this at least that gets rid of the error. Yeah, so this is kind of nasty because of the hack I used earlier. This stack is just going to get deeper and deeper the more errors happen, so we don't want too many errors to happen. I'll fix this, come up with a better solution for this, but I don't want to bore you with that. But so let's look at the actual error. The actual error is happening inside Trikl, which is a little bit annoying. So Trikl works in 2 phases. Maybe that's actually interesting to go into a little bit. So it takes that new, quote unquote DOM, that hiccup structure, and it walks over that. It has this sort of, recursive draw function, which, quote unquote draws on top of an in-memory square, which represents your screen. So it kind of, each time it redraws, it starts with an in-memory empty terminal screen and then just draws all those components on top of there. But as a second step, it takes that previous screen that it drew and the new one, and then it walks over them and figures out the differences. And so it figures out the minimum amount of commands that it needs to send to the terminal to update the parts of the screen that have changed. And so the main reason is that, okay, there's less stuff going over the wire, but especially it kind of prevents your UI from getting flickery, because a lot of when you have these interactive terminal applications, it's very easy for it to start flickering when you really start moving around, and I really didn't want that. So this really tries to only update those parts of the screen. So it'll send a command to the terminal, say, move your cursor to position 4, 5, change your foreground color to this, draw this, output this, and then a whole sequence of those commands together. Now, like I said, it does this kind of this diff between this old and this new one, and that's where inside this diff, while generating the background code, the code to set the background color on a thing, there's an error happening where he's doing an nth on a map. So I guess for some reason this is not actually doing what I think it's doing. What happens if I do this? It's no longer erroring like crazy. But it's also not really doing much. Is this thing re-rendering still? Yes, it is still re-rendering. Okay, so color bar. Do we need to put this in a box or something? Shouldn't be necessary, but oh yeah, now that overrides the span. That's also not what we want. No, I should be able to have just a seek of spans there. Okay, so it's rendering that, but it's not giving it any color. So I guess here current color is not what I think it is. Current color is nil. That is what's happening. Yeah, we probably really should just make sure there's an actual color in our state. Still 3 people watching, and I guess no, I'm not one of those. So 3 actual people watching. That's cool. Current color 50, 100, 150. Why not? Okay, so big background. Okay, and now it's doing something. Okay, very nice. Except for the first axis of that's that one. And I guess we don't want. Actually, let's also put this in a line box. I kind of like those line boxes. And we also don't need this to be so hide all of these. Hide one. Hide one. And then I guess one more to slurp up the rest. Okay, so with that, yes, I can add color bars for green and blue. Nice. Let's maybe we do want a little bit of space in between there. And we also want, so you want to see where we currently are. So if this C equals get current color component, and I guess this RGB can go now. If that's the case, then make it a big X. Otherwise, make it a space. Yeah, I was kind of afraid of that. So probably if we make this bigger, yeah, you start seeing those other X's, but because of rounding, you're not seeing those. Because it's not actually, like when looping over that whole range, it's not actually going every single value, like some values will be skipped. So I guess if get current color component is between C and plus C, divided by 255 width. Now we get two of those. All right. Now instead of X, I had something here. Is it here? Yes. Let's see, maybe this one. Okay. Yeah, that works quite well as a selector. It actually, like, it kind of looks visually like it's a little thicker than the bar. That's quite neat. I could also give it a, yeah, I could give them like foreground colors, but I guess we're good. Yeah, I guess people are slowly dropping off the stream. What time is it? 10 past 8. But let's see if I can finish this so that it actually, yeah, shows what you're looking at. So how about I give this one a background of that color in color. So that's what, you know, that's the color we're picking. And then there's one more thing, which is the selected color. So let's say the selected color currently is, so okay, this, yeah, there's a different color. So let's say the selected or selected component maybe is better. It's currently red. We can display that here too. Span red. Styles if is red selected color then I give it a background, and yeah, I don't have a color picker yet, so I need to come up with but let's say 50 50 150, kind of a bit of a, or even 200, pretty clear blue. Yeah, it's not. No, I guess it's clear enough for now. But we probably need to pass that in. Color picker. No props are being passed on. Oh, selected component. So selected component, selected component. props, and then it expects a label. Props label width can go in the props. So label so label is red. Yeah, so it's almost going to start getting more interesting again when I can finally add some interactivity to my color picker. Just need to make sure it renders this, so let keys selected component current color. Yeah, those can come from the props. And let's say the width also comes from the props. That's my color picker row. Assoc props width. This can actually all go. These are just props. This can also go, I'm pretty sure. Okay, does that work? Yeah, I need to do them all if I want to do that. Oh yeah, I do still need the current color there. So red, green, blue, and yeah, I do still need current color, and I guess I also need to add here the component that we're looking at, not selected component, just component, and those are passed on to that bar. Component 0, component 1, component 2. That work? Okay. Almost, I guess. Except that now it's kind of lost those heights, because does it work if you put those on here? It does. No. I guess I can just change these into function calls. Yeah, so this is the first time I'm really putting Trikl to the test, so still some things to figure out in actual usage. But all in all, it works. Seems to work all right. So okay, why is that component not getting passed through? Okay, here it just says component 0. This actually should just get the props, I guess. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay, Also not super clean. I should probably pick with either using keywords or indices everywhere for like deciding which component I'm looking at, but you know, whatever. The component. Sweet. And at last, we can now return to our input handler. Case key. So if it's an escape, then we just switch back to the default state. That should still work, yeah. If it's up or down, we want to switch to the previous or next color component. So yeah, I'm just gonna do this with a map. So if it's currently red, then it becomes blue. If it's currently green, it becomes red. If it's currently blue, it becomes green. And if it's currently... No, that's it. So db selected component, this guy. Else, no, it's a case, just as this one. Select the component nil, great, cause yeah, that's actually not what I meant. Update db, update the selected component with this map, and then I can just kind of use the map as a function. Let's try that again. Need to fix my state first. Still nil. Where is that nil coming from? It is selected component, right? Selected component. So my DB has a selected component. It's currently red. Anyone know what I'm missing here? So it seems some people dropped out and some people joined in, or maybe people dropped out and came back again. So yeah, I'm using this library called Trikl that I've been working on to work on a terminal UI. Okay, let me actually take background. So we're looking at red. Down. So red becomes green, blue becomes red, and green becomes blue. What happens if you do that on the current DB? Changes to green. Seems legit. Okay, it's going backwards, but it's working. Why is it going backwards? All right, well, that's the benefit of REPL-driven development. You can just see what actually happens and adjust accordingly. Okay, very nice. And then let's say left and right, this is gonna update DB, current color, actually update in DB, current color, red 0, green 1, blue 2. Again, I just keep converting back between these like keywords and indices. I just want to get this working right now. That'll be pretty sweet. I think I'll end there, but just kind of want to see those sliders go left and right and see the color change. So that's the main goal for today, I guess. If we can end up there, I'd be very happy. So we want to get the current selected component in the database. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I guess select component turns it into an index and it's going to use that in update in. That does make sense. And then let's say minus 10. You don't want to just go minus 1, I think, because like you're not going to see the cursor move. But minus 10 should be okay. And again, this really needs some boundary checks, but it's just kind of to see if we can get this to do something. All right. It's not red RGB, red, green, blue. Oh, maybe that's also why. Okay, so there's something funny with like it's changing the wrong color. It seems they're reversed, but it totally works. I can pick colors. Nice. That's actually okay. Should I continue? Like I feel like we can do one more thing where oh, why is it not switching back to default mode? Because this needs to be literal. Okay, I should probably fix that escape. I thought I had that. Yeah, okay. Minus 64. No, minus 27. Wait, what? Oh. Yeah, 27, huh? If is 27. Okay, so do we now? Yes, now we get escape. And also for space, I don't like that. Actually, I guess I can just put this in here. Escape. So there's escape. And what's the key code for space? 32. Could have known that. Let's also add a special case for that one. That's space. Right. So let's use the current cursor. Where am I drawing my cursor? Here am I drawing my cursor. Current color. Let's give this one a foreground of current color. Yeah, then I do need to put something in the box. Okay, maybe this one. It's a bit thin, I don't really see the color. Maybe like, is there like a square that doesn't fit the whole space? Maybe this guy. ASCII art, gotta love it. Okay. So now I can move my cursor and I can go into this color picker, and that changes the color of my cursor. Oh, now it, oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, so let's give it a beautiful fuchsia. And so now I want to be able to move around and press space and have it like, you know, put something in that position. So let's go back to my state map and say like pixels. And I'm just kind of gonna use a representation that's easy to draw, being a map going from XY coordinate to a color. Yeah, now I'm back here. So, some emails rolling in, don't mind that. When I'm in normal mode, default mode, and someone presses space, then update db pixels conch the current cursor with the current color. Okay, so moving around, space, no, not doing anything. Oh, first of all, it's not conch, it's a source. Alright, so we're drawing, we're putting stuff on the screen, except that it's not drawing it, but that's very quick to fix. Let's draw those pixels first and then the cursor afterwards, so the cursor is always on top of whatever pixel there is. So we just kind of map those pixels, and what you get is an X and a Y and a color. And what we're going to do there is draw an X, a Y, with one, hide one, styles, background, that color, and what's happening? Do I have an odd number of? Yes, I have an odd number of things in a map. Always great. No. So mapping over these. Main panel just gets all the props. Props contains pixels. Pixels are a map of key values, so I can destructure those. All right, look at that. We got ourselves a pixel art editor. And let's actually, yeah, we should probably fix some of those bugs. But let's take a nice deep brownish red. All right, I'm happy with this. I don't know. I hope everyone had a good time. And yeah, hopefully this can be the beginning of this sweet RPG roguelike game that I'm thinking of making. So that's it. And yeah, so check out Trikl. If you checked into the screen today, you kind of got the sneak peek of a brand new library that I've been working on. Hasn't been announced yet. As you've seen, it's a little bit rough around the edges, but the main stuff, the last thing that I kind of fixed up was the input handling, and I feel like now it's slowly getting quite usable. That's why I wanted to do something with it today. So yeah, you can find that on GitHub. If it gets a little bit more polished up, I'll make a proper announcement about it. Yeah, all right, thanks for watching.